Throughout England, there are places of worship, and sometimes they turn up in places that you really wouldn't expect them to. How many times have we come across a church or a chapel that's in the middle of absolutely nowhere? It's more than you think. Churches are commonplace. Virtually every village has one, and even the ones that don't have access to one nearby. It's not that long ago that Methodist chapels were just as accessible to people too. A lot of them have closed down now and been turned into different things, such as homes or communal venues, such as village halls. So how come we have lots of these buildings, yet very few are actually still in use? Well, to answer that, we have to know a bit about the history of Methodism. It's long and complicated, but it can be summarised pretty easily. Founded in the late 18th century, Methodism is a form of religious nonconformism. Often called the Methodist movement, it's a Protestant Christian tradition whose origins can be traced back to three men: John Wesley, Charles Wesley, and George Whitefield. There were others who were significant early leaders in the movement, but it's generally accepted that they were its founders. They were named Methodists because of the methodical way in which they carried out their Christian faith. Although Methodism's roots are connected with the Anglican Church, it became a separate denomination after John Wesley's death. The movement spread throughout the British Empire, the United States, and beyond because of vigorous missionary work. Today it has about 80 million adherents worldwide. The original body, founded as a result of Wesley's work, came to be known as the Wesleyan Methodist Church. However, there were other branches known as schisms and/or independent revivals. They would lead to the formation of a number of separate denominations calling themselves Methodist. The largest of these were the Primitive Methodists, the Bible Christians, and the Methodist New Connection. Most of these branches had their own chapels. This is why when we go to a village on TVI, we often see more than one Methodist chapel. A lot of places had both a Wesleyan chapel and a Primitive chapel, and some have more than just those two. Chapels were built literally everywhere, even in places that had no right to have one. We've seen plenty of them in the most ridiculously isolated spots. That's because even in the depths of the countryside, the Methodist movement was really strong. It's easy to see then why these chapels outnumber Anglican churches countrywide. However, these days, not many of them are still in use. So what happened? Did Methodism die? No, but there have been some massive changes to it over the past 120 years or so. In 1907, a union of smaller groups within the Methodist New Connection and the Bible Christian Church joined forces to form the United Methodist Church. 25 years later, in 1932, the Wesleyans, Primitives, and the United Methodists would merge together, forming the present Methodist Church of Great Britain. Today, it's the fourth largest religious denomination in the country, with 202,000 members in 4,650 congregations. It's well and truly still going strong. The thing is though, after all of these mergers, the number of venues for worship was all of a sudden far too great. A lot of them closed as a result of no longer being needed. The survivors tended to be the larger ones, and that makes sense because they could hold larger congregations. There are other factors which have also come into play in more recent times. Declining and aging congregations in some areas have forced some to close, whilst financial constraints related to building upkeep and changes in societal needs and preferences have also caused some to disappear too. These closures reflect a broader trend of declining religious affiliation and church attendance in many Western countries. Far fewer younger people are joining religious movements these days. A growing number of people are identifying as non-religious or are less inclined to participate in traditional religious activities. People are also finding community and social interaction in various non-religious settings these days, such as sports clubs, community centres, and online groups. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated some of these trends. The decision to close a church is often a difficult one, involving emotional and spiritual considerations. The good thing is that many Methodist chapels are historic buildings and a lot are listed too. Whilst their closure represents a loss of local heritage, they often find other uses pretty quickly. Methodist chapels will always be a part of our landscape. As an important part of our culture and heritage, they should never be overlooked.